So Liesl Ulrich-Verderber, welcome to Explorations. It's great to have you here on the show, and our paths have been intersecting a little over the last couple of years, and I'm pleased to share you with the people who are visiting my site and learning about the power of story. So thank you for taking some time this morning. And
Thank you so much for having me, Richard. I'm so excited to chat with you more.
yeah. When I first got really, I think, learned about you, I can't remember who referred me to you. One of our mutual friends, and
Yeah, I
I'll
can't
think of
remember
it in a
how
minute,
we
but
crossed paths.
yeah,
Yeah.
but said, you need to talk to her and see what she's doing. And I know that your early work, which is still ongoing, has been exploring the role of positivity in stories. We're bathed in lots of negative stories in the world today. Um, and so I'd like to hear more about about that and your journey with that and how you
Yeah.
came to that.
Yeah. So I run a company called Widening Circles, which is a positive media company. We say we create media that matters, positive media that matters. And we really work in this space of solutions-based media, if you will, right? This idea that we are telling the important stories that are going on in the world that are not being celebrated, not because they aren't interesting or important, but because they're just not necessarily as exciting as the news, right? But they're incredibly important to our understanding of goodness, of positivity, and of hope for our collective future. And so one of the things that we really do as an Ever Widening Circles community and as a publication is put out stories and tell stories that aren't just about sort of the fluffy things in the world, but really saying, hey, there are people out there solving the world's biggest problems, and they're doing it in incredible ways, and we think you all should know about it. So instead of the common negative media narrative of the world is on fire over here, there you go with whatever that information is, and oh, by the way, a puppy got saved, and maybe that's the nightly news for you. We're really saying, okay, folks, like, we know that things like we were just discussing, PTSD is a problem and we're losing bees on this earth. Well, there is a set of veterans who are using beekeeping to not only keep bees alive, but also help treat and manage and control their PTSD. There's all these incredible innovators around the world that are doing those kind of things. They're tackling the world's big problems. And we are telling the stories of those people in a way that helps shine a light on the incredible work that they're doing.
Hmm. I have a colleague, Nancy Klein, who wrote a wonderful book about thinking and has been, but one of the things she has said is that the world is at least 50% positive, at least, but maybe much more. And if we were to follow mainstream media, we would have a very different impression.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what you're
Mm-hmm.
doing with this work, with these stories, is that you're bringing a balance of perspective, which we all need, I think.
Yeah, and it's really important because when I was listening to Nicholas Kristof talk recently, and he was saying, one of the things about the news is generally the good things that are happening in the world are slow, methodical. They are not beautiful. They're not big and flashing. They don't happen overnight. Last year, fewer and fewer people were in poverty. Last year, fewer children died of malnutrition. It's the numbers are decreasing in all these bad places, but it's slow. It's slow progress. And the news is about what's newsworthy, right? These things that a house is on fire, a plane crashes, a person is robbed, like all of these are news because they're not common, right? And the things that are very common indeed are positive sort of forward progress. And I think that is something that a lot of people don't realize when they tune into the news at night is our brains are conditioned to basically see the world in terms of what we see most. It's a psychological function of ours, which probably served us a long time ago when we were attempting to survive in the wilds. But nowadays, if our entire narrative of the world is negative and it is terrifying, that is our first understanding of the world. That is what first comes to mind when I walk down a street and I think, I saw in the news this scary thing about this particular place. Oh, I must be afraid, right? Whereas if we heard about all the good things, if we celebrated the positivity that was out there, we would see an entirely different landscape around us. And that is the sort of power of this positive storytelling is that I do think I think it's more than 50%. I think I have to say that. And I'm not a naturally like super positive person. But I do think that our brains are conditioned to notice what we pay attention to, continually notice what we pay attention to, and to grow that in our sphere of view. And so it really is important that we pay attention to the type of media that we're consuming, the type of stories we're consuming, and rest with and sit with how and understand how they sit with us, and see maybe how we need to change those incoming products all that are coming at us.
Yeah, and we know a little bit about the way our brain is wired because we are wired for fight or flight.
Mm-hmm.
We have, and there's no in between.
No.
It's either we're quiet and we're very safe, or it's not safe. And
Mm-hmm.
and that was probably useful when there was a tiger around every corner, um, and we can actually and in some ways emphasize that physiological response by consuming negative stories through the media. And so we really need an antidote to that, I think. We need something to balance our lives. And I think that's the beauty of what you're doing with this work. Um,